This is Zuri Rekka, and this is my reaction to We Need to Talk About Bill Cosby. I know this is really late, but I was just watching this because I was bored as hell, and somehow maybe it just popped up into my recommendations a video, and I just kept watching, and I went down this Bill Cosby rabbit hole. And I want to first of all just say, excuse my fan in the background. This bastard ass fly snuck into my room. I don't know how it got into here because I don't even have windows in my room. I just have patio doors, which I haven't opened in a while. So he got into here, and I was wondering to myself, like, do flies get contact high? If they're in the air where there's smoke from substances, do they get a contact high? That's something I could look up later. Anyway, I digress. This video is kind of deep because it's about a very serious subject and something I know I'm late talking about. I think I just never talked about it because I probably was in denial, like a lot of people. It's really hard when you have these people you look up to as a child, your heroes, and they become these monsters. It's really hard to accept that, especially if you're someone like me that already grew up in a dysfunctional family. So you looked to TV for that fantasy land to get away from the dysfunctional things that you were dealing with in your life. And then you come to find out that that was dysfunctional as well. It's almost just like finding out that Santa Claus isn't real, I guess. I don't know how to equate it. But it's just devastating almost in some ways to accept that this man that you grew up watching, I watched him with my grandparents, and like my entire family watched the show together. It was just like a family affair. It was like probably one of the few times where my family actually just got together, which was around the TV, watching movies and watching shows. And The Cosby Show was definitely one of them. And there was this huge influence of blues music, which my grandfather loved because he was a musician and he loved Ray Charles. And he definitely loved the episode where they did the Ray Charles for the grandparents. But it's just really hard to accept, I guess. But you have to accept because it's just that's the problem with us. We need to separate fantasy from reality. And that was just fantasy. It wasn't real, and he's a real person, and people are complicated beings. And we are not perfect, and we are not one dimensional, and we are very complex and very layered. And we find that a lot in cases of sociopaths and psychopaths and the double lives that they live. And he seems to be one of those people that was living a double life. Watching the show, it was just really hard to watch because I've heard the allegations against them, but I guess you just ignore things. I guess I did. Like I said, I didn't want to deal with it and think about it, but now I'm just ready to come to terms with it and accept it. And a lot of people are in denial about it. And one thing that I find really interesting about this whole case is that usually when a big celebrity, like when people in their lives die, everyone screams Illuminati sacrifice, right? But no one says that about Cosby. And two of his children has passed away. And I just think that's interesting because no one said that about him. And this man was one of the most famous celebrities, not just black, but celebrities, period, at one point in time. And no one ever have these claims of the Illuminati blood sacrifice like they do to people like Kanye or Jennifer Hudson or Um, anytime someone dies, those are the only two I can think of at the moment. But they surround a lot of celebrities. I think with Megan Thee Stallion, people are saying about her and her mom, and just all of that crazy stuff. Which I don't know if it's true because I have no idea. But hey, to me, until it's proven, it's absurd because we all lose people in our lives. I lost my mom and my dad. And I'm not in the Illuminati. I didn't get my pass or whatever. Everything is a sacrifice. Like humans die. We aren't immortal, and things happen. Tragedies happen. Tragic things happen to people. I'm not saying that there aren't some sinister, questionable things that happen. Okay, I am not completely closed-minded against that, but I don't think that every single thing is Illuminati sacrifice. But those rumors have never surrounded Bill Cosby, which I think is interesting. One thing that strikes me the most is I have a family member that reminds me so much of him in a lot of ways. Like, he's not famous and rich, but he's a very disgusting person. He's a pervert, and he was also presented this whole I'm a Christian, Jesus is Lord image, and tried to preach to everyone. He was very much judgmental against my uncle that's gay, but he's a known molester. It's been proven that he molested several children in my family, but he has this whole persona of went to school and became like a evangelist and all these things, and was always preaching to everyone. And if you looked at his Facebook page, he would have all this stuff preaching about religion and Christianity, quote unquote, according to his beliefs, what he thought. I just thought that was interesting. And it could be like some traits of some type of narcissist personality disorder, which it really seems like Bill Cosby may have had. If you really examine him and you dig in deep into these videos, it's just like, oh my God, it's like horrifying to think that this man was someone can make a scary movie based on this. Like, this man is on TV being charming and, a family guy and this just whole goofy persona. But behind the scenes, he's drugging women and raping them. It's just, and then he has the nerve to criticize people on their vernacular and on social issues and morality issues. And even Lisa Bonet, when she became pregnant, he thought that was just like, oh, so bad. And image-wise, it looked bad for the show. But this man was living this disgusting life undercover. It's just mind-blowing to me. And people still defend him to this day, even though he admitted himself, not only through his stand-up and through his own words on Larry King in his own book that he wrote. His obsession with his Spanish fly. He admitted to this. He admitted to it. He admitted to it in his deposition that he used Quaaludes to drug women, and that he thought that it was okay. It was just like how he liked to party. People will still defend it, and it's crazy. People don't want to let go of those childhood fantasies. It's hard for people to let it go, but you gotta let it go. They don't want to take the red pill. They don't want to swallow the bitter truth that their hero, that they looked up to, this fictional person, he was never a real person. He's just a character. he was just a character and his whole persona. And when you think about it, not to stereotype comedians, I mean, but there it is out there that comedians are some of the most demented people, the most crazy people in the world, and they make people laugh because they're hiding behind their pain and hiding behind their personas, their characters that they create. It's all a facade to hide a lot of pain. And I think in black performers in particular, especially back in the day, and not to defend him, but just trying to find an explanation, some ways of things he may have been going through. A lot of them were going through a lot of really hard things back then that we can't explain, that we don't necessarily go through today. Like, our lives are still not perfect and not even close to what it should be, an idea, what we want. But it has improved a lot compared to what life was like back in the day when Bill Cosby was a child. Even when I was a child growing up in Chicago, and I heard he was from the projects in Philadelphia. I'm from the projects in Chicago, so I know what that life is like, and it's really hard. And I could really think to myself, it's actually a miracle that I didn't become a sociopath and a narcissist. And I'm dead ass serious. I think sometimes I have narcissistic personality traits, and I think everyone does to some degree. And I can recognize that in myself, but I have a lot of empathy for people, and I feel really sad and bad when things happen to people, and it makes my heart break. So I know. But I lived in such a hard and horrible environment and didn't receive any of the nurturing and love that a person needs to be warm and loving. And a lot of people around me were like that. And I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I mean, look at the news and statistics, and it just shows that it's a reflection of what I'm telling you about my childhood. A lot of people had similar childhoods, and we were just beat, and it was just insane. And he could have had the same upbringing. And I don't know what made me not become and I think maybe it was religion, because I did grow up in church, and that probably gave me a lot of compassion and empathy, and it warmed my heart in some type of ways that made me a more loving person. Because without that, I probably would have grown up and been like crazy. Growing up where you have people have their brains blown out in front of your building, and that's what happened when I lived in Chicago in the projects as a child. Fortunately, we moved out when I was a kid to Colorado Springs, and then, but we did end up moving back to the ghetto. But at least I moved out of projects, but I still hung out in the projects, and it was a horrible experience. I don't know why I hung out there. I think there was a guy my first boyfriend lived there, so you know how that goes. You try to hang around some guy that you like, and you do the dumbest things, put your life at risk for a man. Yes, that was me. Dumb, young and dumb. But not full of nothing, because it took me a long time to give that up, honey. I was a church girl, like, seriously. Yeah, oh, look at that. That's just terrible. But a lot of people really believe the whole facade, and it's not true. You gotta let it go. Some of the women that came forward, they were questionable. There was one instance, and I'm thinking about making a video. There was this woman, I think her name is Lily Bernard, and she said something where she was like, she said that first on the part 3 of the video, if you watch it, of we need to talk about Bill Cosby. Lily Bernard, she says, he tried to R-word me. But then in part 4, she says he did. And that just kind of confused me, because I'm like, how do you go from he tried to? And there wasn't any follow-up on that. Like, and then he did the next time. When she said that in that part 3, look it up. I said I might make a video. Her story is really the strangest story out of all of them. The most peculiar one. It's just, I'm not gonna say if it's right or wrong, but or if it's true or false, but it just seems a little peculiar to some of it. But I'm not going to victim blame. A lot of people do enough of that already. One thing people do a lot, I notice, is victim blame in the comments. Why did they go to his house? He's a married man. Well, why don't you blame him? Okay? Some people that believe he's innocent believe that he's a victim. Well, why don't we blame him? Why did he let all of these women come to his house when he was married? Why was he flirting with all these women and having all these affairs with all these women when he was married? Why was he drugging all these women? He admitted to it when he was married. Everyone wants to blame the woman all the time. Why does she do this? Back in the day, things were different. They went to men's room, and back in the day, women could not admit to things like that. They probably didn't want their careers in jeopardy. He was a powerful man. They did want it. It was probably for what some might look at for superficial reasons, but if you're in this business and this is your passion, this is how you're feeding your family, you're gonna do what you have to do to stay in there. And he could easily had some of them blacklisted from the business, and that's probably why they complied and why they just didn't say anything. Some of them probably were just afraid and didn't believe that anyone believed them, and some of them could be embellishing their stories. But I believe that even if one of them are telling the truth, that's enough. That's enough. I don't know what was wrong with this dude. Like, why would he even try to criticize people the way he did when he was living the life that he lived? Like, that's crazy. Like, you should be quiet if you're living that life where you're drugging people. You shouldn't say anything. Like, seriously, keep your mouth closed. Don't say nothing at all. Be quiet. But that's probably why he's a narcissist, because they have no self-awareness at all. I live next door to two narcissists, like really bad, and I know they are because they have zero respect, zero self-awareness, and it's been hell living next door to them. But they have no, everything is everyone else's fault. Like, nothing is ever, they take no responsibility, which is, I think, the number one way that you can tell a person is a narcissist, because they take no responsibility and they will never like apologize on their own without you probably having to coerce them into an apology with some type of ultimatum or something. But they just never freely say, "Oh, I was at fault," which I can openly admit that I've done wrong. I tell people all the time, and I'm an asshole, because I know I am. I'm from Chicago. I'm from the hood. I live this. When you're from Chicago and the ghetto, it just does something to. It does harden you in a way. And I may have some hardness to me, but I still have love inside my heart, and I love people. Even though they annoy the shit out of me and I hate them sometimes, I still want to help people and make the world good. You know, it's just a love hate, but I don't hate people and I don't want to go around manipulating. Like, I would never want to do that and get any joy out of that at all. It would make me feel bad to go around and do that to people, and I don't know why he would do it. It made me wonder, like, maybe one of the reasons why he did it is because he had like tiny penis or something. He didn't want them to see it. That's why he wanted to be unconscious, because he was like, that's the only way that he could let them see his penis, because he was so ashamed of it. I'm serious. Like, why would he do that? I can't understand the mindset of somebody like that, because I don't think like that. Or maybe he just didn't want them to remember anything because he didn't want them to go to the police. He didn't want them to go to the press. So he was like, I'm going to just knock you out so that you won't remember anything. And if you have no recollection of it, you can't tell anything. And another thing that he said was like, he said they never said no. How could they say no if they were knocked out? That is, yeah, like, man has issues, and it's too bad he never got any help for his issues. I hope he didn't do anything to his kids, because that whole barbecue episode was really weird when he was like, I put it in a family barbecue and it makes them act the same way. That hit a little too close to home. I mean, I hope not. I hope nothing weird happened. And one more thing I wanted to say about the whole Illuminati thing. He literally sold his daughter out to the press because he didn't want a story coming out about him swinging with, I think, Sammy Davis Jr. or someone, just living it up, partying. He didn't want this whole story to come out. So he sold his daughter out to a tabloid. I think it was like the Inquirer or something. He did that. Literally. I don't know if that's the daughter that's dead, but I've heard that two of his children have passed away. I don't know what happened. I know one of them died on the side of the road and is changing a tire. I think that was back in 2007. And the other daughter, I think she was 44, but I don't know the details of how she passed away. But I hope that he was, because if he was this like cold-hearted and crazy, this dude is like, seems like to me psychopath. There's these people living amongst us that have no conscious, their maybe their lives, their traumas as a child were so horrible, or their lives, or maybe they were born that way. Who knows? But I know that these people they exist, and it's just crazy. You gotta be diligent, be aware. Just look out for them. What I got from watching that whole series was just stop idolizing celebrities because they're just people. I mean, I already knew that anyway, but that's a message that some of you need to hear. The people in the comments that don't believe that he is capable of doing this for some reason. You believe that that he's some type of saint, that he can't, like, wasn't John Wayne Gacy a clown as well? He like entertained everyone. He's a clown, almost like a comedian. Not to disrespect comedians, because I love comedians and I aspire to be a comedian one day. It's like the best job in the world, right? To make people laugh and get paid for that. But in a way, I mean, that's what clowns do. They make people laugh. But he did that for a little, and people trusted him. And he was like burying children, boys, under his house. Okay? I'll bet you anything all the people and neighbors that hung out with him every day and on a day-to-day basis at his house, at the barbecue, at the cookout, had no idea that this man was a psychopath, a murdering, psychopathic creep, pervert, rapist, murderer, down low, undercover, pedo, chomo, everything in between. That's what he was. And that's what y'all need to understand, that just because these people have these personas, that these honky dory giddily people, you just can't trust them. Especially the ones that try so hard to put the squeaky clean, perfect, picture perfect image. That picture perfect image. Sometimes behind that picture perfect image, they're hiding something else. And what they're doing when they're criticizing other people, that's called projecting. And that's something that narcissists like to do a lot. My neighbors like doing that a lot. So I just think it's bad that he didn't get to serve his full sentence and the victims didn't get any justice, really, because he's free. That's the sad thing about this whole case. I feel my heart grows out to them. I hope they can get, they deserve monetary compensation. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Money doesn't make up for it, but hey, it could take you on a good vacation, get you some therapy that you need to heal. It can pay for that family therapy that you need to heal. It can pay for the rehab that you need if you are having substance abuse problems from what you experience with being assaulted by this person. And that's sometimes the only way that you can punish a person, when you can't get them through the judiciary system, like and in jail. If you can't get them that way, you gotta hit them in the pockets. That's the only way you can get them. And I hope they do get everything that they deserve from this dude, because what he did was wrong. It was just messed up, and that, ugh, like, something about him just always felt creepy to me. And I'm not just saying that because of the allegations that came out and all of that. I just felt, you can just feel it as a kid, and I felt that about the same family member that I told you about in the beginning of the video. I just, and my family saw that I never liked this person, and I could always sense that there was just something off about them, and I can feel that there was something off about him. And maybe it's the whole creepy thing, but you know what? And I really like clowns a lot. I always thought that clowns were kind of creepy. And I'm not saying that all comedians are clowns, because all comedians don't act like goofy clowns like Bill Cosby acted like a clown. He acted like a clown type of person, persona, comedian, goofball. He wasn't like a deep, philosophical, thoughtful person, like introspective like Dave Chappelle. So he does have that whole jester, joker, jackass persona that he carried for some time in his career, when he saw that the whole Black Power movement wasn't working for him, which I did see in the documentary. That was his roots. He, I hope he doesn't. I don't think he can hurt anyone else, because I think he's blind now. So God probably did that to him for a reason, because God was like, you know what? I'm gonna just make sure that you can't see these pills anymore. Take your vision away. That way you can't hurt anyone anymore, because you can't see to them. You can't see nothing. You don't know if they're pills or if they are jelly beans, or what's those little annoying Halloween candies that look like pills? You don't talk sweet tarts or whatever they are. Anyway, yeah. Hey, you know what they say? What comes around goes around. So hopefully no one else will be affected by that. But if you feel like something is suspicious and someone is doing something to you, do not keep going back to their house. Do not keep going back to visit them. Report that person right away. I know times are different now than they were then, but I hope that right now y'all get you a body camera. I got one. They got them on Amazon, $70. Get you a body camera. Have that on you when you're going to meet them with men, and you're going to audition, and protect yourselves, and have some type of protection on you. Get some classes, some self-defense. Don't drink anything from anyone at all. Bring your own drinks with you. Bring your own water. Insist that you drink your own beverages, which I hope you all know by now. And don't take any pills from anyone at all, under any circumstances. Even if you do drugs, bring your own drugs. Don't do anybody drugs. Don't trust them, because you don't know what that might be. So I hope everybody takes care of themselves, and thank you so much for watching this video. Please like this video.